When I first agreed to share an apartment with Jason, I thought it would be easy. We had been friends since college and we already knew each other well. We liked the same music, watched the same shows, and both wanted to save money. Renting separate apartments was too expensive, so sharing one seemed like the best choice. The apartment was not large, but it had 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, and a small kitchen. We divided the rent equally and agreed to share the cost of water, electricity, and internet. At the beginning, everything went smoothly. Jason was more relaxed than I was. He left his shoes near the door, forgot to turn off lights, and often left cups on the table. I liked things to be clean and organized, but I tried not to complain about every small problem. We were friends, and I did not want to make the apartment feel uncomfortable. The first real problem started with food. I usually cooked on Sunday evenings because I was busy during the week. I prepared rice, chicken, vegetables, and a few simple meals for work. I stored everything in clear boxes and wrote the date on each one. This helped me save money and avoid buying lunch every day. Jason did not cook often. He usually ordered food or bought snacks on the way home. Sometimes we ate together, and I did not mind sharing when we planned it. The problem was that he began to eat my food without asking. At first, it was only small things. One morning, I noticed that one of my yogurts was gone. Another day, half of my orange juice had disappeared. I thought maybe I had forgotten how much was left, so I said nothing. Then one evening, I came home late and opened the fridge. The chicken and rice I had prepared for the next day were gone. The empty box was sitting in the sink. I knew Jason had eaten it. I felt annoyed, but I told myself it was only one meal. Maybe he had been hungry. Maybe he planned to replace it. I ordered something cheap and decided not to make a big issue. The next day, he did not mention the food or pay for it. He also did not clean up the box. I washed it myself and went to work. Over the next 2 weeks, the same thing happened several times. Bread disappeared. Fruit disappeared. A frozen pizza I had bought for the weekend was gone before Friday. Sometimes Jason left empty packages in the kitchen, which made the situation even more frustrating. I began to feel that I could not keep anything in the apartment. The strange part was that Jason never acted as if he was doing something wrong. He seemed to believe that because we shared an apartment, we also shared all the food inside it. I did not agree. I paid for my groceries with my own money. I spent time planning meals and cooking. If Jason wanted some of my food, I only wanted him to ask first. I probably would have shared many things if he had asked. Instead of talking calmly, I started using small signs. I moved my food to one side of the fridge. I put my name on some containers. I even wrote short notes asking him not to eat my food. The signs did not work. One night, I came home after a difficult day and found that Jason had eaten almost everything I had prepared for the week. 3 meal boxes were empty, the kitchen was dirty, and there were plates on the table. That was the moment when I lost my patience. I went to his room and told him that he could not continue to eat my food without asking. I explained that I had paid for it, prepared it, and needed it for work. Jason looked surprised. He said he had not realized it was such a serious problem. From his point of view, we were close friends, and sharing food was normal. His answer made me even angrier. The problem was not only the food, it was the fact that he never asked first, never offered to pay for it, and rarely cleaned up afterward. The conversation quickly became an argument. I brought up the empty containers, the missing drinks, and the frozen pizza. Jason responded by mentioning times when he had paid for delivery or let me use his coffee. He believed we had always shared things informally and that I was suddenly changing the rules. I felt that he was avoiding the real issue. He felt that I was counting every small item and acting as if we were strangers. Neither of us talked calmly. I raised my voice. Jason became defensive. The argument moved from food to cleaning, bills, noise, and other small problems we had never discussed. By the end, we were both angry about much more than the original issue. Jason left the apartment and did not come back until late. I stayed in the kitchen and looked at the empty mailboxes. I still believed I was right. but I also knew the way I had handled the problem was wrong. I had stayed silent for weeks, collected frustration, and then released everything at once. The next morning, the apartment felt cold and uncomfortable. Jason left without saying much, and I did the same. For several days, we avoided each other. I bought only enough food for one meal at a time and kept some snacks in my bedroom. Jason ordered food every night. We were still sharing an apartment, but we no longer acted like friends. The situation made daily life stressful. I began to understand that avoiding a problem did not create peace. It only delayed the argument. That weekend, I decided we needed to talk calmly. Before speaking to Jason, I wrote down the exact issue. I did not want to complain about his whole personality. I only wanted to explain how his actions affected me. The main problem was simple. I wanted him to ask first before eating my food. If we decided to share something, we could divide the cost. If he finished something, he should replace it or pay for it. We also both needed to clean up after using the kitchen. When Jason returned home, I asked him to sit with me at the table. This time, I kept my voice calm. I explained that I did not want another argument. I wanted us to set a rule that was fair for both of us. I admitted that I should have spoken earlier. I had expected him to understand my notes and my silence, but I had never clearly explained the boundary. Jason also admitted that he had been careless. He had grown up in a large family where everyone shared food from the same kitchen. In his home, asking before taking a drink or snack was unusual. He had carried that habit into our apartment without thinking about the difference. That did not make the problem disappear, but it helped me understand why he had acted that way. He was not trying to disrespect me. He had simply assumed that our ideas about sharing were the same. They were not. We decided to set a rule. The top shelf of the fridge would be mine, and the middle shelf would be his. Food on those shelves would belong to the person who bought it. We would ask first before taking anything from the other person's shelf. The bottom shelf would be for shared food. We would both pay for basic items, such as milk, eggs, butter, cooking oil, and vegetables. We made a list on the fridge and agreed to divide the cost at the end of each week. We also set a rule for cooking. If one person made a large meal and wanted to share it, we would discuss it first. The other person could help pay for the ingredients or help clean up. Finally, we agreed that whoever used the kitchen last had to clean up before going to bed. The rules felt very formal at first. We were friends, not business partners. Still, clear rules made the apartment feel easier almost immediately. The following week, Jason asked before taking one of my meal boxes. I had cooked extra food, so I agreed. He paid for half the ingredients and washed the dishes afterward. It was a small moment, but it showed that things could change. A few days later, I used some of his coffee because mine had run out. This time, I asked first. He said it was no problem. I realized that the rule worked both ways. Personal boundaries were not only about protecting my things, they were also about respecting his. We slowly became comfortable again. Jason started cooking more often. His meals were simple, but he learned how to make pasta and soup. Sometimes we planned a shared dinner and bought the ingredients together. On those evenings, eating together felt better because neither of us felt used. We also became better at discussing other problems. When the bathroom became messy, we created a cleaning schedule. When the electricity bill increased, we talked about turning off lights and using less air conditioning. Before the food argument, we had believed that good friends should naturally understand each other. Afterward, we learned that friendship did not remove the need for communication. Living together showed us habits we had never seen before. Jason did not know how carefully I planned my budget. I did not understand how natural sharing had been in his family. Neither of us was completely wrong, but both of us had made assumptions. The biggest lesson was not about food. It was about speaking before frustration became anger. I had watched Jason eat my food for weeks and expected him to notice that I was upset. He had seen my name on the containers, but had not understood why it mattered so much. We were both waiting for the other person to understand without a real conversation. That did not work. After several months, a friend visited our apartment and laughed when he saw the labels in the fridge. He thought it was strange that two close friends needed separate shelves and written rules. I understood why it looked unnecessary from the outside. For us, the rules did not make the friendship colder. They protected it. A clear boundary meant that I did not have to worry about my meals disappearing. Jason did not have to guess what he could use. We knew which food was shared, who should pay for it, and who needed to clean up. The apartment became more peaceful because the expectations were clear. One evening, almost a year after we moved in, I came home and found a large container of food on the shared shelf. Jason had cooked dinner and left a note explaining that he had made enough for both of us. I ate it after work and cleaned the kitchen before he returned. There was no argument and no confusion. We had both followed the rule without making it feel like a rule. Looking back, I am glad we had that first argument, even though it was uncomfortable. Without it, I might have continued to feel angry in silence. Jason might have continued to eat my food without understanding the problem. The argument forced us to talk about the difference between sharing and taking. Sharing happens when both people agree. Taking happens when one person decides for both. I also learned that asking first is a simple way to show respect. Even when someone is likely to agree, the question gives them a choice. Paying for what we use shows that we value another person's money and effort. Cleaning up shows that our convenience should not create work for someone else. Jason and I still share an apartment. We still have different habits, and we still disagree sometimes. But now we talk calmly before a small issue becomes a large one. We do not expect friendship to solve every problem. We ask questions, explain what we need, and set a rule when necessary. The food in our fridge still belongs to different people, but the apartment feels more shared than it did before. That is because real sharing is not about taking everything without asking. It is about respecting each other enough to communicate clearly, divide things fairly, and make home comfortable for both people.